welcome in. Today we are exploring the world of Merit Beauty. Believe it or not, I have already filmed this video, then I lost the footage. So I have picked up everything from their line, excluding the lip gloss set, which does include a brand new lip liner and I believe a new shimmer shade of their Solo Cream Shadows. I didn't pick that up. That is retailing right now for $80. This is kind of a limited edition holiday set. I imagine once that's over, they're gonna bring the lip liner in permanently and they're gonna make that shimmer shade of the Solo Shadow part of their permanent line. It has a couple of other items in there, but I already have full sizes of those, so I didn't want to pick up the whole set, but we do have everything else. And because I've already lost the footage of this video once, I have tested every one of these products, but some of them were new the first time I filmed the video, so I have only tested them one time. So I want to start off with one of their lip products because they have three right now in their permanent line. They have the Gelée Tinted Lip Oil, and I want to throw this on while we're doing the rest of the makeup, the base and all that, because I have two other lip products from them. Pretty big fan of both of these, and this will just kind of hydrate the lips as we're filming. Called the Shade Slick Gelée Tinted Lip Oil. I have mine in the shade Jeté. I think there's 4 shades in the Gelées. There's 8 in the regular tinted lip oil. I believe the regular tinted lip oil came out first. These are tinted, but just very, very slightly. It looks more tinted in the tube than I really find that it tints my lips. Smaller doe foot applicator. It's an extremely thin formula. It's nourishing, but it doesn't last terribly long on me. But while this is smooth, it's kind of just not the longest lasting, so I don't find myself reaching for it that often. And holistically, I feel like it makes sense for the brand. For me personally, because I have such a larger collection, I feel like a product like this at a higher price point isn't something that is standout in my collection. I much prefer the original tinted lip oil. I feel like the tinted lip oil just offers a little bit more for the price point. The added tint is just nice. Let's go into their brow product next. This is called the Brow 1980 Volumizing Pomade. Comes in what looks like 3 shades. This is a little bit of a stretch for me. I kind of cheated a little bit and I did add a little bit of shading to my brows because I have tested this once and it doesn't have as much pigment as I would like. It obviously doesn't kind of drag out my brows to where I like them, so I just shaped them a little bit because my brows stop at about there, or they're very blonde down here and very sparse, and so I don't have a ton of brow hairs there. I think that the hold on this is nice. It's very gentle. It doesn't flake. It's a soft hold. It's not an extreme, crunchy, stick to your face kind of hold. Again, just more minimalist. It offers a little bit of hold, just not a lot. As far as brow pomades go, I don't test a lot, but I find this a digestible product for somebody who doesn't use brow pomades. I feel like this is the kind of soft hold that I would like. It also fits with just the minimalist beauty that Merit is. I think only having it in 3 shades is maybe a little bit limiting, but I don't think it's overly tinted either. So I feel like it's a little bit more fluid. They just don't have anything for anything other than, by the way, I have mine in the shade Blonde, which I feel like is a little bit darker than Blonde. And then they have 2 other deeper shades. They don't go lighter than that. They don't carry a gray or anything like that. So now I want to go into their Instant Glow Serum. I have tested this once. This is a biphase product. It's more like skincare. There's niacinamide in it. There's caffeine. There's about 4 different types of hyaluronic acid in here. So ultimately it's just supposed to give you a really nice glow, plump. It's super thin formula, so it's supposed to sink into your skin very easily and well. I almost think of this as kind of a skincare step. I imagine that I'll probably move this down to my skincare drawer so I can apply this in the morning. This is obviously more suited for someone who's got dry skin. I find that for me personally with oily skin, it's a little bit hard to wear this product all over the face, especially in my T-zone, because it tends to make me really dewy throughout the day. It's a very hydrating product. I feel like the shine and the glow really jumps through on the complexion with this. So the tendency for my base products to slip off so much more when I wear this. So again, probably something I would use down in my skincare drawer, maybe even something that I would wear like at night. I definitely feel like it's hydrating and thin, and I love the glow that it gives. I would just say maybe if you have oily skin to kind of stay away from your T-zone with that particular product. Let's go into their eyeshadows next. I have 2 of the Solo Cream Shadows. These are just the matte ones. I have played with these quite a bit. I'm a pretty big fan of the formula of these. They're super easy to work with. They're nice and creamy. They dry down, but they give you time to work with them before they dry down. They're just a really easy, uncomplicated formula. Just minimal effort, if that makes sense. They do have a number 2 brush, which was launched and made for these. This has a more dense, smaller tipped end on one side and a very fine detailed brush on the other end. I have not used this side, but I can imagine that it has kind of many uses. I think for today, I want to use just the more mauve shade. Last time I used both shades, they're both beautiful, minimalist, just super nice, kind of one and done. This one is in Studio and this one is in Socialite, the more mauve color. And I want to use Socialite today. Sorry, it's in Social, not Socialite. I don't know why I gave it that name, but because I'm kind of wearing a more mauve pinky shirt, a little bit of product goes a long way. And before I decided that I was going to do the Merit Beauty review, I had already picked up this brush. I was in store when I saw it, and I wasn't initially thinking I was going to pick it up, but when I kind of played with it in Sephora, the quality just felt really good. Not that I don't have brushes like this in my collection, but just that it was so convenient. It works perfectly for these cream shadows. It's on the smaller side, but I kind of like that for a cream shadow brush, even though that wasn't the intention. The other complexion brush they have is also small, so that's kind of their aesthetic. I think just simple, easy. These are so like non-budge once they dry down. They have really good lasting power and they're not uncomfortable. They're still a pliable formula. You can still move around. They don't feel stiff on the eyes. They're just kind of great formulated, single kind of one and done. I have used these shadows layering them up using 2 shades at a time, but they're so neutral that they're great for just a simple one and done, which I feel like I'm getting more into lately. I don't know what that's about, but I've definitely been enjoying single shadows a lot more and gravitating towards them as well. So I do recommend this brush. Again, before I thought about doing this video, I picked this brush up and gave it a really good review when I had kind of little to no context about the brand at the time, was just trying kind of new makeup releases. And because I've been gravitating towards single shadows and cream shadows lately is why I picked these up, not necessarily to test Merit itself, but because I wanted to test the single shadow formula of a new release. So if that kind of tells you, I was thoroughly enjoying using the brush before kind of any of that. Maybe that gives you some context. So pretty simple, pretty easy. If you're just really into that minimalist, I think I went in with a little bit of a heavier layer. I kind of like a little bit more emphasis on the eyes, so I don't usually go super light on the eyes most of the time. Now let's go into complexion. So I had this stick in my collection for a while, and I was using the product as a concealer primarily because it's so creamy. I tend to not gravitate towards foundation sticks for my entire complexion because I prefer a little bit more coverage on my complexion, simply because I get pretty red, have some hyperpigmentation kind of around my eyes, and so I find that it wasn't really enough coverage for me on my entire complexion. But I moved this to the concealer drawer because this is used as a multi-stick. It's used for your base, your full complexion, also your concealer. I just really liked it as a concealer. I thought that I liked the amount of kind of light buildable coverage that it allowed. I think it's really good and creamy formula for people who like more minimalist base, but I don't necessarily think this is a product ideal for people with oily skin. It has, as you can see, a really radiant finish about it, so it's definitely more on the dewy side. And for me, if I don't kind of powder over this or find some way to mattify this a little bit, it's not going to stay very long. It will come off of my complexion very quickly. And that is exactly what has happened with this particular product. It doesn't stay an extremely long amount of time. After about 3 hours, I will be extremely dewy and most of the complexion has worn off. And then I showed you guys the brush. So this is the other brush that they have in their collection. It's the number 1. I picked this up during the sale when I decided that I was going to do the full face of Merit. And I had someone in my comments say that they loved this brush, that they use it for basically everything. So that is what I did the last time I filmed this video. I used this to blend out the blush, the bronzing stick balm. I think that this is a beautifully angled, like slightly dense brush, super soft, short, and gives you control to really just like buff this in. And it's even nicely shaped to just get under the eyes. So I don't regret getting this brush at all. Again, I'm a huge fan of their brushes. I find myself really enjoying using them. And by the way, you can go in really heavy with this stick, kind of like I did, or even heavier if you need a little bit of added coverage. And I never find that it looks heavy or cakey or anything like that. Now I think I want to go into the tinted lip oil. This one is in the shade Pink Beat, just so you guys have a chance to see all of the lip products, because I do not want to end with this one. It's definitely my second favorite lip products of theirs. I think their shades are just flattering and very neutral, very everyday. This is the kind of stuff that you could throw into your purse. It's very comfortable, hydrating, thin. I prefer this one more over the Gelée, simply because I think it just adds a little bit of extra pizzazz for my lips. Same great formula, I just like the added tint. I think Rose Beet is a beautiful, very neutral, everyday shade. Let's go into this bronzing balm next, or bronze balm. As you can imagine, it has a nice radiant finish to it. It's kind of one of those extremely emollient, lightweight formulas that you can really just draw on and bounce into the skin. It doesn't take a whole lot of work. It applies well on top of powder. It's a fairly neutral tone, so it looks very natural on the skin. Again, though, very radiant finish. So not an extremely long-lasting formula, just very natural looking. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to wear bronzer, or you're somebody who has trouble finding shades that aren't too deep, let's say you have a fair complexion like me, I think this is an ideal product because it's so lightly pigmented, because it's such a lightweight formula. I, by the way, have mine in the shade Clay. Now let's move on into their blush. This is the Flush Balm Cheek color. I have mine in the shade Beverly Hills. Again, another product that I just draw straight onto the cheeks when applying it. It's the very same formula as the bronzing balm or bronze balm, in that it's just really thin, very lightweight, very radiant, natural looking finish on the cheeks. Although I feel like this product is designed to really just draw straight onto the cheeks, I do find that it kind of lifts up some of my foundation, some of my complexion products underneath. So if you guys don't like that, I mean, this is a perfect little brush to just dab directly onto the product and stamp into your cheeks. It really is just kind of like a flush of color with nice, juicy plumpness to the cheeks. I mean, you really see the radiance hitting the high points of my face. I like this product. I don't think for the type of blush that I typically wear, which is really pigmented and long lasting, this is a product that does any of that. And it's just not a very long lasting blush. This is truly your Minimalist Beauty. Little effort, little pigment, just very natural, not designed for longevity. Next, I want to go into their highlighting stick. This is the Day Glow Highlighting Balm. I picked up mine in the shade Citrine, which I think is one of the more deeper shades. And I'm not sure why I necessarily picked up this color. I think I wanted just a bit more pigment. This kind of shears out to more of a sheen, just a glisten. It doesn't have a whole lot of base pigment to it. So I think that the other shades that they had, I think there were 2 lighter shades than this one, if I'm not mistaken, were just maybe a little bit too light for me. And even on application, straight onto the cheeks, it's basically just a glisten. Again, not a ton of real pigment. So I almost feel like it doesn't matter what shade you pick up in this highlighting balm. I think this is really nice if you're looking for a super natural, full-on glow. It's one of the glowiest highlighting balms or sticks that I have. It's genuinely a wet looking cheek. Extremely, extremely dewy. I want to say this highlighting balm is even more dewy and thin of a formula than both the bronze balm and the Flush Balm for the blush. It literally just looks like water, just wetness, a sheer wetness with no pigment. By the way, everything I did on my complexion I used with this brush. I do, again, highly agree with the comment that this is kind of an all-in-one lovely little brush. Highly recommend that. Let's go into their mascara next. This is called the Clean Lash. Now, I have used this, but just once. This was a newer product to me the last time I filmed this video, and it's not my favorite. It is more, like it says, just very minimal, very lightly pigmented, basically everything that this brand is. The problem for me is I like my eyelashes because they're very light and thin to have more pigment in my mascara so that I can really accentuate my lashes that don't otherwise show up very much. So this is a little bit too demure and just light overall for my personal preferences. And while it's a really wet formula, so it's really easy to work with, it grips the lash pretty well. It's just not overly pigmented. I think that it does give a clean lash, but it doesn't add anything extra. Lightly pigmented. So if you're into a lighter mascara, it's wonderful for that. And I don't even mind the brush, even though this is a natural bristled wand. I prefer a plastic one because I feel like those deposit a little bit more product because I can get closer to the lash line without hurting myself, without getting too close to my actual lid or skin, which I tend to make a mess with kind of these natural bristled wands like this. And while I find it to be a buildable formula because it's really wet and emollient, it has a stopping point. It doesn't go past a certain point of pigment or opacity. So again, you can only build it to a certain point, and if you like something a little bit more pigmented and obvious or to add volume, it's not going to do that. It really just very lightly coats the lashes, essentially. Again, not my preferred formula or effect, but I think this really has a time and a place. If I really wanted something super light on my lashes to kind of make it look like I wasn't trying hard, like this is the mascara to grab for. And finally, I want to go into my favorite lip product from Merit. This is their signature lip. This is in the shade Baby. This is my favorite kind of mauve neutral tone of really any lip product that I have tried. It's such a My Lips But Better shade. It's more of a sheer formula. It doesn't have a whole lot of opacity or pigmentation. It's like just right, just in the middle, very comfortable. Again, kind of simplistic beauty that you throw in your purse and that you could put on with really any eye look. Huge fan of this shade. Have had this in my collection for a while and have done a speed reviews on this, meaning I have fully tested this product and then done my kind of final review on it. I enjoy this shade so much for like a fairer complexion. It's just a really natural nude lip. I find nude shades that are more brown toned tend to really just wash out my lips on my fair skin. This is a very neutral My Lips But Better color that's probably best suited, like better suited than in my collection, just that I've tried in general. Something a little bit more sheer that isn't brown toned. So that was everything. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I would love to hear in the comments what you guys think of the brand. Thank you for joining me today. I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye guys.